Hello, today is Wednesday, October 2nd, and welcome to episode 367 of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you quickly up to speed 3 times a week on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. I'm NSI Senior Fellow Lester Munson, and I'm joined today by NSI Fellow Jeffrey Wells and my fellow NSI Senior Fellows, Bishop Garrison and Morgan Vigna. Today, we're talking about the big events in the Middle East. Yesterday, Iran launched about 200 ballistic missiles at Israel. Very few of them hit. Perhaps one person on the West Bank was killed because of this attack. So Israeli defenses, American defenses, perhaps the defenses of other countries allied against Iran were very effective here in slapping down the Iranian attack. Nevertheless, very significant attack from Iran directly against Israel. The Biden administration has made very strong statements supportive of Israel, promising there will be consequences. President Biden, Vice President Harris, the Secretary of Defense Austin, others have made strong statements. So, Morgan, I want to get your reaction to what happened yesterday and also what the Biden administration has said about it.
So Israel has taken clearly very defensive measures. They knocked it out of the park, frankly, in terms of implementing Iron Dome. The Israelis were ready for this. I think it's interesting to note that the Iranians launched ballistic missiles this time around, unlike earlier this year where it was a combination of various types of missiles. I think that the difference here is that the ballistic missiles actually were the ones that sort of made it through last time, and Iran really tried to sort of take that lesson learned and really tried to go after Israeli air defenses. Didn't work, right? And I think that's the big takeaway from this. In addition to that, Israel has said that they are going to retaliate. It's unclear when they're actually going to take those next steps, but I think we can see them target Iran's energy facilities. And I think it's important to note here, too, that who is the primary client of Iranian oil? That would be China. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out if Israel does go after Iran's energy resources. In addition to that, you asked about the Biden administration, and specifically, look, the Biden administration is all over the place, right? They've said that they support Israel's self-defense. We saw the U.S. military in action yesterday to that end. At the same time, though, Biden is very publicly very opposed to what he would perceive as escalation in the region. But this is this northern war, particularly with Lebanon, and a potential all-out conflict with Iran, frankly, has been in the works for a long time now. Israel has been preparing for a northern front war, and I don't think they necessarily anticipated it would take place this soon, but nevertheless, this is how we're seeing it play out.
Bishop, because of what Morgan brought up, I want to go to you next and talk about this, I'm going to say schizophrenic Biden administration approach. Please challenge me if you think I'm wrong.
I'm surprised.
I know. This is the first time I've said that. There was a story in Politico before the Iranian attack, so I think on September 30th, that outlined how key Biden officials, Amos Hochstein and Brett McGurk, actually supported the Israeli move into southern Lebanon to some extent, which is certainly not what was being said publicly by the administration. So, to you, what are your thoughts about this, what we're seeing coming out of the White House, broadly speaking, about where U.S. policy is?
Yeah, none of us should be surprised that more thorough, honest conversations to some extent vis-a-vis the policy are happening inside of the White House behind closed doors than you're going to see in public. So I don't think any of us should be too surprised, Bambi with the headlights in the eyes types on the idea that happens in DC. It needs to happen. They need to be able to have those type of discussions. And I think a lot of what we're seeing in the Arab world kind of echoes the idea that no one was a big fan of Hezbollah. So the fact that Israel has been able to dismantle the leadership in the way they have has surprised everyone, but everyone is thankful for it. I think the big question here for me is what happens next? like, what are the strategic end goals here for Israel? How do they see themselves as a player within the region? What are they going to do about escalation? At one point, I heard a former senior official say this morning that we escalate to de-escalate. Okay, where's the de-escalation coming in that? And otherwise, you're going to find yourself in, I don't know, a 2-decade quagmire that has you with a foothold in a region that lacks utter stability and is going to cause problems globally. As we saw to some degree with GWAT. So I don't doubt that they're going to look for opportunities to strike at the energy infrastructure, as Morgan astutely noted. But my question is, to what end? Like, when is this? How are you going to stop and ratchet down tensions? And what is the White House going to do in order to see that happens? I think we have the potential of off-ramp here, but we actually have to see the sides willing and able to take it. I just don't know that we're seeing that.
One might ask, is it a 2-decade quagmire or a 2 millennia quagmire? Jeffrey, let's go to you with this big question about what happens next. Give us your thoughts about two things. One, what happens in response to the Iranian attack, whether from Israel, the United States, or perhaps countries acting in concert to respond to Iran's attack, and then further, southern Lebanon. What are the next steps for Israel there?
So, I think I'll start with the last part, because I think that's easier. It's the southern part of Lebanon. I think is still a tactical goal, and it's a tactical success. I'm not so sure about strategically what the end goal there is, but they certainly have been able to their idea here is to create a buffer zone while they've continued to dismantle or disable short-term, I think, Hezbollah and Hamas at the same time, which has given them the ability now to kind of shift their focus. It's no surprise that the Mossad headquarters was empty yesterday. So was 8200. So were several of the air bases. As this came in, to me, that's not surprising that Israel was ready for this. And I think it was kind of a tactical switch to, okay, now we can really focus on Iran. And this has been our goal for quite a while without having to deal with, powerful non-state actors in our neighborhood to disrupt us. And I think they will go after critical infrastructure. And I don't know that the U.S. has any credibility at this point to restrain Israel. I think Israel is going to do what it wants to do, and where the U.S. as its friend is going to be drawn perhaps further in. I mean, as we've tried to pull away, we keep getting pulled closer in. And my big concern here is that we've got an amphibious assault group in the region. We've got a carrier strike group in the region. We may be bringing another carrier strike group close by, and that is certainly going to put Americans at risk. And the end game, I don't know how this plays out, because Israel is not, we kind of used to believe that Israel would listen to us. And I think certainly during this lame duck period between now and the election, I don't think we have a voice in this game other than we're going to support you, because if we don't support you, the outcome is more likely to be completely terrible for the region, for civilians especially, on all sides.
All right, my hot take is I think U.S. kinetic action will be minimal, if there's any at all. What the U.S. really ought to do is return to extreme economic sanctions on Iran. They were effective. Turn off the money spigot, shut down their oil exports as much as possible, work in concert with others to achieve that. Morgan, I am going to give you 10 seconds to rebut if you wish.
Wes, we have so many economic sanctions on Iran right
We're
now,
not
but guess what?
enforcing them.
Exactly. That's my point. Congress has put so many sanctions on Iran, but the Biden administration refuses to enforce them.
All right. That's a wrap. Thanks so much to Devlin Burney, Claude Jennings, and the NSI staff for their help in producing today's episode. Join us again on Friday, October 4th, Fun Friday. For another episode of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you smart fast on the national security and foreign policy debate shaking up America. Fault Lines is also on YouTube, so check out our channel for a video of today's episode. If you like what you heard or saw, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.